Right, 3 December 2023, and today I've got one of the saddest stories that I've ever had to carry in this year 2023, and this is to do with what happened on Friday, in which 10 Zimbabweans have been killed in a suburb called, or I can say a squatter camp area around. If you are in Midrand, it's just around there. It's less than 10 kilometers, and 10 Zimbabweans were hunted down at night in their homes, and they got killed. So 10 of them were Zimbabweans, and one South African was killed. And this all happened because of the group called Operation Dudula. And Operation Dudula is accusing Zimbabweans of committing crimes in South Africa, specifically in the area called Diepsloot. And this area called Diepsloot is a very, very poor area. And the people who live there, Zimbabweans who live there, they are gardeners, carpenters, domestic workers, the low-level people that cannot afford to live in another proper area. Those are the people that are living in an area called Diepsloot. And this area is very, very poor, and there's not much there, which people can say they're losing to Zimbabweans. I've got many, many friends who stay there who are not able to live anywhere else because accommodation is so expensive. So most of the houses there are those shacks in the section where Zimbabweans work. It's shacks, little shacks where they don't even have a floor, and they live under very, very squalid conditions. So what happened is 4 people were killed on Friday night. They were actually hunted down, chased down and killed, and their bodies were found on that particular night. And then the next day, 5 more bodies were found, and all the bodies were burnt beyond recognition. However, there are 2 particular Zimbabweans that have been identified, and these ones make me very, very sad. And these 2 is Talent Moyo and Felix Nkomo. These 2 were going to church. They forgot their church garments. They go to a church called Zimbabweans Apostolic. They are apostolic people who were white. They were found walking towards their home, and they were grabbed and killed and torched, and they were burned beyond recognition. So 10 Zimbabweans are confirmed dead, but their identities are going to be very, very difficult to ascertain at this point because of the extent to which their bodies were burnt. However, there is one woman who was also burnt there, and they accused her of helping robbers to lure. So she was being used to lure victims to robbers. But what I want to do is I want to start by showing you something. I want to show you a set of videos. This is Operation Dudula. This group is a problem. These guys are murderers. They are not a movement. They are responsible for the murder of these people. And Operation Dudula must do something about what they've done in Diepsloot. They killed another Zimbabwean here, I think it was Elvis Nyati, a year ago. And now they've killed 10 Zimbabweans. And at that point, the community leaders had said this was going to stop, but it hasn't stopped. Operation Dudula, they remind me of the time when young Stoli from Chipinge was grabbed on his way from work. And you remember, we helped to pay the school fees for his kids for a few years. And they grabbed him at Kahlehong and cut him up in half, and they burned the bottom part of his body and left the top part of his body. Up to this day, his family is not having anything to eat, and the South African government has not done anything about it. These operations, which are being carried out in South Africa, are shameful, and they should not be allowed. These guys must be arrested, the Dudula guys. So let me play for you what the Dudula guy said in one video, then I'll play for you another one.
People who were killed by the community of Diepsloot, the majority of them are foreigners and they're illegal. It is true, we've organized many matches concerning crime as Operation Dudula and Diepsloot, but nothing has been done. This is not the first time that is happening. Community takes the law into their own hands. If we remember, we had a similar incident of Nyati, but what we've seen concerning this crime in Diepsloot is that when community takes the law into their own hands, police are quickly to come to Diepsloot and arrest those community members who've tried to solve the crime on their own.
Right, so if you look at what he's saying there, the people who were killed were foreigners, and most of them were illegal. And I want to show you what he's meaning. So I don't think most people understood what he's saying. These guys have a list. They just don't randomly kill people. They sit down in a meeting and they have a list to say, these 10 people must be killed. And then they go and kill them. They know what they're doing. They're not killing people randomly. They're targeting specific people. And specifically, they're targeting Zimbabwean Ndebelés. So I want to show you what he is, what has happened here. In fact, let me go to a different television station where this guy was speaking. And this is a very, very shameful behavior on the part of Dudula. The Dudula guys, they could no clue what they're doing. They are doing things that have never been done. So un-African, what they're doing here. Because killing a person is not something you just do, like you're killing a chicken. And these guys are not only killing Zimbabweans, but they're burning the bodies so that the families cannot bury the bodies. So if someone is killed in that manner and they're burnt to that extent, they cannot be, when you take them home, you can't even open the coffin. It's that bad. So now let's look at what he said to another television station. I think he was talking to Newsroom Africa here.
But the crime rate continues to rise. And mostly people who are suspected of these criminal activities and those who've been arrested, mostly is foreign nationals. And we're not going to shy away and then polish things. And we're not xenophobic, but we're going to say the way it is clear. I'm one of the leaders who goes around visiting those families. And the survivors, when we are engaging them as community leaders, it's clear. Most of our crime perpetrators are Zimbabwean and Ndebele people speaking. We're not going to shy away from it. And then it's puzzling again.
Right, so I just made the point. I don't know how good my volume is. We need to sort this out. But here he is. He's saying he's not going to shy away from saying it as it is. But most of the crime committed in South Africa, in Diepsloot, is committed by Zimbabwean Ndebelés. This guy has a list. This is a hit list. They don't just randomly go about killing people. They sat down, they had a meeting, and they decided that they're going to go to that house and that house and that house. They went there, they pulled those guys out, they killed them, and then they burned the bodies. And this is not the first time this has happened. We have had so many cases. In Alexandra, there were so many murders. And back in the day, you remember I went into Alexandra with JCTV, and we drove in after one of these attacks. The poverty in these areas is causing all these things. But Operation Dudula is a political outfit. They have got a political objective, and what they're doing must be answered for by the political leadership in South Africa. Right now, people are downplaying what has happened in Diepsloot. You cannot downplay the murder of 10 people from one country and then the burning of their bodies. I think something has to be done here, and specifically the ANC, they need to deal with this issue because Operation Dudula is aligned to the ANC. I don't know how killing these people is going to result in them getting more votes. And also, you remember that last week, the Minister of Home Affairs was out talking about immigration, and we mentioned that immigration is broken. People have got no permits. You heard the guys saying the guys are illegal. The reason why people are illegal is because the immigration system in South Africa is broken. And right now, today, over 400 children were intercepted at Beitbridge border, trying to cross into South Africa without papers. because they're coming to see the mothers who are domestic workers, who are gardeners, who are working without papers. And this cannot be solved by this approach that they're using, which is deportations. Last year, how many people did they deport? You remember we counted over 100,000 people deported in January. This is crazy. It's a crazy number. They turned back thousands and thousands of buses. And then those people are back in SA. So every December, this happens. And then in January, they start the deportation. And by March, everyone is back here. So they need to fix the immigration, and they also need to fix the poverty issue, which is there in areas like Diepsloot. It's a very, very bad area in terms of poverty. And it's said that this has been allowed to happen. But my final statement is that they need to arrest Operation Dudula. They need to be arrested, those guys. They've killed people here. It's a massacre, what they've done. They cannot just go away with it. And someone has to account and pay for all these things that are happening. These families that are being left without a mother and a father and without a breadwinner, they just walk away. I was telling you of the case of Stole. Up to this moment, the kids of Stole called me. The young boy called me less than 3 months ago to say he needs money for school fees. And obviously, I cannot afford to pay for everyone who's getting killed in South Africa. So the South African government has to do something about this. You cannot continue with this murderous approach. Just because you think someone has done something, you go to his house, you pull him out, you kill him, you burn his body, and then you go out on TV and say, I was over there. Most of the guys who killed are illegal. How do you know that they're illegal? This is terrible, terrible stuff that is happening. 10 Zimbabweans killed on Friday. And they were still hunting for Zimbabweans on Sunday morning. They were still hunting. They were looking for more people that are said to be criminals. How do you know that they're criminal? You're not a cop. So how do you know that someone is a criminal? Right, so now let's look at this gift for now in Momira Shawa. In Momira, now we're dealing with the real issue here, which needs to be addressed. There are 4 million of your countrymen here in South Africa. And you need to have empathy for your people. President Ramaphosa was the first person to congratulate President Mnangagwa after the rigged election. Now that 10 people from Zimbabwe have been killed, which official has spoken? 2 guys who were going to church. So let's say the other 8 were criminals. Someone come out and explain how those 2 guys who were going to church were killed. That is Talin Moyo and Felix Ngong. What did they do for them to be killed? Except for the fact that they were just foreigners who were in Diepsloot. So is that the way? If I go to Diepsloot, I used to go to Diepsloot a lot. I think I went to Diepsloot because Zang, the Zimbabwe ANC, launched their function in Diepsloot. I went there to film, which means by crossing through Diepsloot, then I deserve to be killed. That is what they're saying. That anyone who's not known, whose identity is not known, must be killed. So I think they need to sort this out. And the ANC should bring Dudula into line. Dudula is now a murderous group of people. They've got blood on their hands. These guys are not a pressure group or an immigration movement. They've got blood on their hands. And what they do not know is that if you kill a Zimbabwean person, immediately you're going to see that person in your home. I think these guys will tell you. We recently had the case of a guy who killed a Zimbabwean person who had to go to Zimbabwe. They had to take him to Zimbabwe because everywhere you walked, you were seeing the ghost of that guy. So this is what we're going to deal with. These guys have to deal with this. They don't understand that they're not killing chickens. And this is terrible, terrible stuff. It may look like the things I'm talking about here are removed because these are poor people who are being killed. And as I said to you, the people that are being killed here, when I want my roof fixed, these are the guys who come and fix my roof. My kid's bed right now was fixed by a guy who stay in Diepsloot. One of the best carpenters that I have. He's got his workshop there. And as I said, my musician, the guy who makes my music, he stays at Diepsloot. Those guys are not criminals. There's no this thing of saying illegal Zimbabweans are criminals is not true. Zimbabweans do not commit crimes. Criminal activities should be reflected in the numbers in jail. And the numbers in jail say 95% of people in jail are South Africans. They're not Zimbabweans. So the 5% is divided between everyone else. But 95% of rapists, murderers, killers, child traffickers, all these people, they're South Africans, they're not Zimbabweans. And you cannot then say, because there are some illegal guys there, if anything happens, let's kill those guys. That is a poor approach by Dudula. And Dudula guys should be arrested, especially the guys in Diepsloot. It's the second time they went away with it. They were arrested and nothing happened. Now they're back. So all the guys who are in Dudula and Diepsloot should be arrested, and they should face the consequences of these murders. The murder of 10 people, cold-blooded murder, and then burning of the bodies. Because now when they're burning the body, it's desecration. So it's even worse. Because the family of that person cannot bury their person. Terrible. So anyway, I think let's end it here today. You can go on YouTube and Facebook, especially if you go to Facebook, you'll see that Ngabuto Mabena has dealt with the story. Machiavellian TV station, they've dealt with the story. And I think Jesse TV is working with Machiavellian TV station. These guys have carried the story. They've gone there and they've talked to the people who live in that neighborhood. They've talked to the wives of the people, the mothers of these people. These people are not criminals. And if they're criminals, then you must make them face the court's floor. There must be evidence of what they've done. You can't just say, now I'm going to be Dudula and kill everyone that I meet who I suspect to have committed a crime and then burn their body. So the South African government is responsible here. They have to pay now. They need to start paying restitution to all these people that are being killed. Everyone that has been killed by xenophobia, they need to now start paying. There must be a list for this thing. And the Human Rights Commission here in South Africa, I do not know what they're doing, because what have they said today? My mechanic at Alexander was killed in cold blood 10 years ago during the same incident. And this guy was just a mechanic. He did nothing. All he did was live in that area. Now we have this situation. So it's really terrible, terrible. Right, I think we're done for today. I'll be back in the morning if my newspapers are not working. My newspaper system is not working. So I'll have to see if we haven't got any movement on that. Then I'll be back later in the afternoon. But this is the breaking story. The South African press is obviously downplaying this story. They don't want to say what is really happening. But we're talking here about 11 people dead. And you might want to know, where are we getting our numbers? We're getting these numbers straight from the South African press. So these are not numbers that we're just making up. So I want to show you, there's been a report that only 7 people, only, the word only in quotation marks, they're saying only 7 people were killed. One person mustn't die. But here they've killed 12 people, 11 people. So what they did was they killed 9 plus the 2 guys who were going to the church. So let me show you this so that we don't have a misunderstanding. Because I saw the police, they're sticking to the 7 who were killed and 9. But the person who was right on the scene, they've explained that 4 people were killed in the morning in one section and 5 people were killed in one section. So I hope I'll be able to get this at the correct point.
Well, Dudu, from what we know on the ground is that last night 4 people, have been killed in another section of Diepsloot, and this morning 5 more people have been killed as well, and community members are.
Right. So as I said to you, 4 people were killed in one section, and those 4, they are the Zimbabweans plus 1 South African. And then the 5 people, their bodies were found in the morning. And these are Zimbabweans. The wife has already been interviewed of one of them. And these bodies are beyond recognition. So if you've got a relative that you're not finding right now, and they live in Diepsloot, I've been trying to call my guys right now. I've not got an answer for any of the guys that are in Diepsloot. So if you've got a guy that you know who stays in Diepsloot, you can try to call him and see if he's answering. These people were killed and their bodies were burned. And then we got the two people who are going to church, Felix Ngomo and Talenmo. And these guys, I think they're from Cholojo. They were just killed. So it's 11 guys who were killed. One of them is South African, one is a woman, and 10 of these people are Zimbabweans. So this is the murder that happened on Friday. And senseless vigilantism with no purpose at all. And that is what has happened. Right, thank you very much for watching, and I'll keep updating you on this story. I don't even know where to start. We'll see what the Zimbabwean officials here in South Africa say, and also we'll get more numbers and also movement on who has been killed and everything. We'll be updating you as we go. But this is terrible what has happened. Thank you very much everybody for watching, and good night to you all.